Hi, this is JJ from Paranormal Talks, paranormaltalks.com, and this is the third video with our near-death experience speaker, Mr. Jim Bruton. And the first videos gave you a lot of information about what's happened with him, how he was killed. And now we want to hear, most importantly, how his life has changed since he returned from the dead, basically rose from the dead. And I know a lot of fundamentalist Christians don't like hearing that because only Jesus can raise people from the dead. Well, we have too much data and proof that that is not as true as we'd like it to be. So, Mr. Jim Bruton, we want to hear more about what your life is like now that you've returned. And I specifically asked this question because it is a well-known, documented fact that when people return from the dead, their life really totally changes. They come back with new abilities. They have a different thought process. Their careers change, their relationships change, all of that. And it doesn't just change automatically. It's a gradual, integrated change. So we want to hear specifically how that has manifested in your life. So tell us, Jim.
Thank you, JJ. Good to be back with you. Yeah, again, when you have the NDE, that's the big thing. And then there's a little bit of understanding that you had a near-death experience. The two main phases that follow, one is, have to do with the after effects. Things that after effects can be physiological, they can be psychological, but they can also be occurring in the real world around you. And it's one of those things to tell you, it's not just me and I'm not crazy, because these things are kind of undeniable. And then after that, you start to notice patterns in your life. Like we said, you've changed fundamentally. You've been transformed. Your values have changed. The way you react to things, the thoughts that occur to you during the day as you solve a problem or engage with people change. This is the integration phase. And on the typical literature tends to say that integration phase can last 7 to 10 years. If you're an adult, if you're a child, it can last for like 10 to 40 years. It's amazing, but it's definitely running around with a big thought bubble with a question mark over your head saying, what now, what's next? Because you are going through a continual process of rediscovery of how am I going to react to this tomorrow? As a result, you could come across as a little self-absorbed, but as I joked one time with a therapist, I said, it's funny how self-absorbing and depersonalizing experience can be. It seems a little oxymoronic to me.
It is.
And the other thing too is as you settle into it and you talk about these things that are now very important to you and you want to share them. It's our instinct to want to share them. As people push back a little bit, either they say, man, that sounds crazy, or, oh, you were hallucinating. Either they discount the experience and discount your feelings, or they say, that might be the work of the devil. I mean, there's so many reasons for people to say things to kind of try to get you to stop talking about it, that after a while, you really do start to realize you've been removed from the herd. And that can
big time
have a couple of expressions. One,
and you never really rejoin the herd.
No,
never.
You don't. No, you've seen how sausage is made. You can't forget it,
Oh God.
And so and so part of that is, it's easy also for your ego to get so bruised that you start to feel, well, I was chosen, oh yeah, okay, yes, you were, but again, don't get too wrapped up around the axle about that. Just let it go. What you've had pointed out to is your destiny is simply not everyone else's. Anyway, let me talk about a couple of aspects here, and one is the after effects. Shortly after I came home from the hospital and was settling in, I realized that, and I'm doing the research, and you sort of start to learn what to look out for. And it does say, first of all, we do have challenges with our relationships. For example, 78%, maybe up to 80% of people who have near-death experiences get divorced. Now, no one is suddenly doing anything usually directly to cause it. What it is that you've changed so much that the spouse who did not have the experience is saying, where'd my spouse go?
Yeah.
And they may even to a point after a time say, this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't the person I married. And that is true. You have now changed. As I said to one group of people one time who were in marriage therapy, that I said, most people's vows say till death do us part. What happens when one of you dies, no matter that you return? Your
Yeah.
covenant is broken. The only reason you stay together now isn't because of a vow that binds you, but because you simply choose to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of freedom, a lot of existential freedom for
Yeah.
people to handle who aren't ready for it. But I don't know any other way to better explain it, because the person they want may have died on the hospital table or in the crash or whatever, and this is what they have now. So there's only building anew. There's no going back. Never is going back. So relationships can be a big challenge, and professionally that can happen as well.
Yeah.
So just understanding that that's something that, if you can find a therapist who's NDE friendly, great. But I'll tell you right now, if you find a therapist and they don't really recognize the validity of your NDE,
Yeah.
run away.
Yeah. Move on.
They will do more damage
Yeah.
than they will do good. And I'm just going to say it, do not go there. And then just to kind of cut to some of the fun stuff, you've heard maybe about the electronic anomalies and electrical anomalies.
Yes, it does something with your wiring, your electrical wiring. All of us bodies have electricity in it. By the way, that little spark of electricity is what causes all of our hearts to begin beating when we're born. Electricity. So go on about the electricity. There's amazing stories around that.
Well, it is amazing. I've never replaced light bulbs in my house so much as after my NDE.
Oh, that's how you do it. Okay. What about crashed computers, crashed cell phones? Batteries always running out. You can't wear a wristwatch.
Yeah, it's tough. Within 3 months, I had to replace my entire HVAC system and furnace here at the house.
Your HVAC, heating.
Oh, I'm sorry, heating. Basically the heating and air
conditioning and vent.
The whole damn
HVAC.
thing. Yes. And then I noticed I had some issues. I had to call them back out here, and they looked and within the ductwork within a home, you will have things called damper motors. They actually open and close according to the thermostat to direct airflow to different parts of the house.
And you broke those.
Yeah. 4 out of the 5 damper motors were all blown. And I asked them, I said,
YouTube, dead people break things. Go on.
Well, I asked the guys, I said, so what made that happen? And they just shrugged and said, power surge. And I said, you think? So
that's you.
So they had to replace that. And then one time, my son and I were driving in his car talking about the in-between and my near-death experience. And when we got home, I had my cup of coffee in an aluminum Go mug, this one. And it had gotten cool. So I poured it in a regular coffee cup and put it in the microwave while he and I are still talking. So think about it. We're talking about this experience. So I'm feeling this experience. I heated my coffee for only 30 seconds, like I always do. And everybody knows that's a comfortable thing. I reached in, and as soon as I just touched the cup, the coffee exploded, and so did the microwave. I had to replace it. And he saw all this, and I said, yeah, well, there you go. So just timing over that. I mean, transformers outside, even copper wire phones going dead. That's weird. And they should never go dead. So those things. But I would say jump ahead a little bit. You talk about crashing computers. I've had computers, iPhones. I had 2 computers and my iPhone going crazy one day when I was working at a customer site. And this one gentleman walked up and he was just watching the whole thing. And I just got so frustrated. I simply said, this is due to my NDE. And you know what he said?
What?
He said, I know. And I said, how do you know? He goes, I drowned when I was a baby.
Oh, and it happens to him.
So we've become friends.
Yes.
So anyway, the weirdest thing, though, truly the weirdest thing for me has been, and also 5 days in a row.
That damn NDE. Damn.
Exactly. Yeah. But honestly, I've had cash registers go down in stores as soon as I walk up to them, and one time that happened 5 days in a row. 5 different stores. In fact, one was a psychic shop. I was told to go in and get a certain crystal, and I did, and everything failed. And they knew why, and they just said, "Take the crystal and leave, so we can go back into business." I said, "Okay, I'm out of here." So, but honestly, electronic communication is a weird one.
Yes, electricity. Yeah.
Yeah, PMH Atwater is quite a famous researcher in this field, and I was talking to her on the phone one day, and when I talked to her, as soon as I walked out, my porch light blew out. My car had already been warming up and running. And the minute I got into my car, the two clocks in the car, one was normal time and one was frozen when she and I were doing some energy work. And I laughed about that. But on my way to see her in Virginia, I was 20 minutes out, and my phone on my dash was using Waze, a popular GPS program. All of a sudden, another friend of mine, NDE related, popped up Facebook Messenger, and she said, "I don't know why, but I'm thinking about you right now." I said, "Yeah, because I'm 20 minutes out from PMH's house." And she said, "Oh, that's great." Well, as she was typing, and you could see the little dots on the screen, I'm driving, both hands on the wheel. I do not have the radio on, and therefore I do not have Facebook Messenger in dictation mode. But all of a sudden, in my blank text field, letters started appearing. And they said, "Thank you for being a kind and loving person." And that is a snapshot of that is on my website. So if you're able to scroll down and share that with your viewers.
There it is.
And I got to PMH's and I told her what happened, and she laughed and said, "This is just the beginning." Someone else said, "Hey, I guess your spirit guys know how to use your phone." I don't know, but it was the weirdest thing. I had no idea what was going on. I was really concerned. Oh my God, is something really bad getting ready to hit send that I can never recover from, since it's good for my phone? But I did grab that snapshot, and that's it. Another one was about literally not but a few weeks later, and I was recommended to this Hungarian researcher who lives in Austria, as she was starting up a new research project. And she wrote, as you can see from that email, the email would appear to be from her. There's her name. The timestamp was, I think, March 10th or something. It was
yeah. So this is Victoria to you,
yes.
Jim.
However, the body of the email says what? Happy
2008. Happy
yes.
2008.
What it is that the email looks like it's sent from her, but the body of the email is from my first wife 11 years ago, in response to my question saying, "Where do I find people here in the Northeast USA who follow our path?" So both communications, if you will, were spiritually related, but they were 11 years apart.
What?
That email was in a folder that did not exist 11 years ago. It didn't exist more than a year ago. And yet somehow these two emails merged. And I've talked to the highest rated Cisco experts in unified communications, and no one can tell me how this could happen.
Huh. So Victoria's message delivered.
Whatever email she was sending me was gone. If one really came from her at all. I don't know what, I mean, the purpose might have been, somebody up there showing off.
Yeah, but instead you received a message that was sent 11 years ago on your phone from your previous wife.
Yeah. And yet it was appearing to come from Victoria.
Right. That answers your question that you asked 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And her answer is, "I finally found something for you to find your nearest satsang."
Yeah.
Your nearest rep is Dr. Frank, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, maybe this was the great beyond's way of telling me, did you ever get in touch with those people? Maybe now's the time. I don't know. But the fact is, something impossible happened. And
yes, this is impossible. 11 years. And it finally shows up.
But it also just shows you that if it is impossible, that means anything is possible.
Anything is possible. Well, based on what you experienced with your latticed egg and moving those gears around, which you can do, you have the power and ability to do that. This is child's play.
Well, these things still occur. And what's interesting is several times when I've been like standing in the kitchen talking about my NDE to someone who's never heard of it, my iPhone, Siri, will just suddenly decide she's joining the conversation. And I do not say that name. You know what to say to bring it up, and my phone's sitting here, so I don't want to do it. But it just, like, in one time, it just kept popping up like 10 times. And I said, yeah, this is the kind of stuff that happens. It just becomes so strange.
That's normal with dead people. And just to piggyback on that, there's a near-death experiencer, a young man came back from the dead. He's sitting in an automobile as a passenger driving down the street at night. And as he drives by, it was 2 blocks he'd probably drive down. Every street light that they drove by exploded. Bam,
Yeah.
bam, 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 all the way down the street.
Right. Right.
That's normal.
And I've pondered, what's going on. I mean, if this were in the movies, it would be emotionally linked. Like every time I get angry, light bulbs blow up and the bad guys, get thrown around the room and crap like that. But
yes,
the closest emotion I might say was there, or I say closest in terms of consistent, was I felt annoyed. Not angry,
just annoyed.
Something was annoying me. Maybe somebody was annoying me, or my computer rebooted and annoyed me. It's funny. And so I would say that probably if I were to say you need to be in a certain place inside for that to happen, it's probably not so much being aware of your emotions. I'm still working through this, please. I tend to think it's when you become present. When you become present, the flow from the other side to here can occur. And the more present you are, and again, the more depersonalized you are, the more you've removed yourself from the equation. Therefore, the more pure the flow, without any, I don't want to say contamination like self-hating puritanicals, but I'm just saying the less you're influencing it. Because you don't need to. The in-between can flow through you, and it knows where to go, and it knows what to do. If I'm just going to say it this way. If there's somebody in the room that needed healing, they might get healed. If somebody's computer needed to get rebooted, it might get rebooted. Who knows what's going on? We have no clue, I'm sure, beyond a few real obvious things.
So you're just a channel. And also, to get back to this perception, this Disneyland perception where you're on a ride, it's a small world, and the people who are there on that ride, they're all there together, but the perception are so different because of their position of where they're looking.
And to what degree of accuracy did you just sum up life? 100%. Your neighbors, your family, those who are closest to you, and then you'll meet somebody from the other side of the world who doesn't even speak your language, but through an interpreter, you realize this is like family. This feels like family. We're on the same page.
And the feelings are what are so key. I mean, the thoughts and the analysis, very important, but the feelings, the emotional reaction to that.
Now, you're coming to my integration, if I can jump in there.
Okay.
I had this opening thought as I was starting to realize I'm parsing things now. I'm seeing shades of gray I didn't before, that the world is not binary. It's not someone's all good or all bad.
It's not digital, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of those was that logic tells us what is correct. This is what you should do, or if you do this, this is what should happen. Okay, fine. We make a lot of decisions based on that. But in our society, if we say you're very logical, that might be a compliment. If we say you're very emotional, that's usually an insult. And yet emotions tell us what's important. And it is about balance between the two. And that brought out other thoughts that came out of this. And let me just back up for another second here. When a lot of people have near-death experiences, they may come back and something will be tuned up a little higher than it was before.
Yes.
Said, if you weren't psychic, you will be. If you were psychic, you'll be more psychic.
Right.
My thing, whereas a lot of people might say be healing or something like that, my thing was empathy. And it was really interesting. I'll give you an example. That when the first person I shared my experience with when I was in the hospital was my nurse in the morning. She was totally excellent. Her name was Jen. She was top flight. She was just fantastic. And so I realized one day she's hanging out in here because she just wants to sometimes. I know these people are very busy. And I said, do you mind if I just share this crazy thing that's going on in my head with you? She says, no, go ahead. So I told her my NDE. Somewhere in there. And then I said, I've even wondered, am I really already dead? And being here in the hospital is some mental construct I've created to come to grips with it. I mean, who's in a hurry? Just let him take his time to get used to the idea that he might be dead.
Yeah.
started crying. And I said, why are you crying? And she said, I don't want you to die. And I said, well, you're a nurse. You're in a hospital. You see death. And she said, but you're magical. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, every patient here gets one doctor, and they get them for maybe 15 minutes a day. For some reason, you have 3 to 5 doctors in here for an hour, and I snoop. I walk by the door listening in on what you are talking about, and it's not your medical case. It's about all sorts of things. And one of these doctors wants you to go into business with him, and he has you on international conference calls while you're on your back, doped up on painkillers with your leg in the air in a cage.
Oh.
So I've never seen anything like this.
My God, really?
Yep.
Did you ever go into business with him?
No, only because I had to come back out and focus on my other work beforehand. But
Yeah.
I do stay in touch with him, and I like him very much. And anyway, the other thing is I've gone into the Port Authority in New York City, which you can imagine is pretty crazy and busy in the morning.
Yeah.
There was a long line of people waiting to get coffee at this one stand. I go in line and stand there. All of a sudden, this young man comes out from behind the counter, comes down to 30 people, and he looks at me and says, what do you want? And I said, I want a vanilla latte. He went and got it and brought it back to me, no charge.
What the heck? What the heck's with that? What was that?
Just we connected somehow from there, and I didn't even know it. I wasn't aware of it. But those kinds of things that now all I can guess is this, as I mentioned before, when you kind of walk around with that open channel to the other side, let's face it, whether it is a beautiful scene or whether it was a really horrible looking place, you are in a place, as I was told, everything is interconnected. Pay attention to your relationships, meaning even if it looks a little scary, you're still somewhere where the understanding of interconnectivity and how we are connected is simply woven into the fabric of the universe, and it's in the air you breathe. So when you come back here and some of that's coming through you, people are going to feel connected. And how hungry are people to feel connected? Everybody's dying.
Yeah, apparently.
People commit suicide because they don't feel connected. People are desperate for one little compliment, just lift them up 1 inch, and they'll be your friend forever. And we're all in so much pain. So anyway, pushing through there though, that empathy has exercised itself in some strange ways, and I'll be quick. My wife has a really cool job. She leases jets to people who can afford to lease jets. And you can imagine what their holiday parties are like. They're not just, let's meet at, Papa Doc's Pig Palace. It's going to be a really cool place to have a party. Well, two of our children, who were like right around 20, 21 years old, wanted to come. And of course, the rule is, dress up nicely. Grown-up behavior, everybody's got to be cool. Don't embarrass mom. Great, fine. So we get there, and what's interesting is our youngest daughter and our son, so she's like, say, she was about 19, he was 20, 21. They arrive, and they're dressed up very nicely, and they totally know how to be around grown-ups. And they can own a room when they walk into it. But during the evening, at 2 different points, I looked at them, and I didn't know who they were. I didn't recognize them. Now, this isn't the syndrome where you can't recognize
no, and that's normal with death experiencers.
Well,
it is normal.
Well, I think I figured out why. It was a little bit of a puzzle, and I thought, okay, I know I'm not having a stroke. I know everybody else, but for a moment, I'm not recognizing them, to the point that I'm sitting there actually not knowing who they are. It's not like I don't recognize you, but I know that's him because you're wearing the clothes you were wearing 5 minutes ago. It's like, no, I don't know who this person is, and I'm actually kind of affronted by their body language because they're so comfortable within my space. I mean, it's really weird. So anyway, that happened. Just kind of bookmark that for a moment. Two people though. A few months later, my wife, who does community theater, she had not acted for a while. She used to be an actress in New York. So like a few years later, she now has gone out for a role. She got the role. These 2 same children and I are waiting at the community playhouse for her to arrive. It's the opening night of her play. As she's walking up the street, she's carrying all of her clothes for her scene changes. And the kids are talking to her, and I was looking at her, and it's the same thing. I didn't recognize her. I remember thinking, I know that's supposed to be her because the kids are talking to her, and I know that's supposed to be her. Just all logic tells me that.
Yes.
But now she kind of looks Spanish. Now she kind of looks Italian. I said, I don't know who that person is. She is very pretty, but I don't know who that is.
So then, you're seeing past lives. Because
Well,
of your psychic ability, you are seeing past lives overlay her. Go on.
well, I was wondering because when I really sat down and thought about these three instances, I thought, okay, in all cases, these two things I can say were true. One, their energy states were elevated. The kids, their energy states are elevated because it's like I'm going on stage and I got to be on my game,
Yep.
so your energy state's
Yes.
going to be higher, right?
Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
And my wife, she's getting ready to go on stage in front of all these people. My God,
Mhm.
your energy state better be high, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the other key thing here is, and none of them were being the people they are. The
Mm-hmm.
two children
Yeah.
had to be adults.
Yeah.
My wife had to be other characters.
Yeah.
And so it's as if it's as if my empathy had taken on a visual element of seeing their inner states.
Yes. Uh-huh.
But
Because you're psychic.
it was projecting out to me as something to see. And I've had this happen a few other times. And one person, it was at the IANS conference in Pennsylvania over Labor Day weekend, and I saw it happen. And I went up to the speaker later, and luckily, this is the person I could tell the whole story to. I said, "This happened. Where was your head when that was happening?" He said, "Yeah, I was having to put on my manager hat." And I said, "Yeah, okay, I saw that." So
Uh-huh.
that's kind of interesting. And to
Mhm.
me, it's interesting as a measure of between the person I would expect to see and the person instead I'm seeing, what's accounting for that difference? What's going on in their inner world? And is there therapeutic value to that, or just understanding you're in a different spot? It's cool. You'll come back. But anyway, that's one interesting way. And part of this is that by being in that flow, you wonder, what is a benefit to other people here? What could be of benefit? And
Mhm.
one of the things the in-between said to me that I find very interesting, it said, all the force of will you will ever need is found in the art of letting go.
Ah.
And there's an old saying, like on the field of battle, when a samurai draws his sword and
Mhm.
throws his scabbard away, on that day he is now free to fight his best because
Mm.
he's never going to need that scabbard again.
Ah.
And this is how I believe we're supposed to live our lives every single moment.
Mhm.
Whatever your job is, whatever your role in the world is, with that much passion, that much abandon, that much surrender.
Mhm.
And that takes us to a further point that brings it home with people who have asked me, how could your near-death experience benefit others? And I thought, well, like during my conversation earlier, is there imagery there that you could bring into your meditation space that might have value? Now, in
Ah.
contrast to workshops, let's say prosperity consciousness, where you sit there and you visualize being successful. I don't know. I don't know. I've never taken one, but you visualize being in
Mhm.
a condition of prosperity.
Yes.
For a lot of people, that has a lot of different things.
Mhm.
In my practice instead would be the assumption that you were born with everything you need to be a
Mm.
spiritual person and to be a happy person.
Mhm.
The practice is more about removing the things that are keeping you from that. And that's where the letting go takes place. It's not
Ah.
force of will, it's actually a relaxation, just saying, I can take this off my shoulders, put it on the ground, look at it, maybe kick it a couple of times, and then walk away. I have that power. And believe me, it's a lot. It can be done. It is done. I have done it. When I was laying in the hospital, I have a stressful job in IT project management.
Mm.
As a result, I would come home from work. This was before the NDE, and I might have a rum and coke. I can relax now. I hate to say it,
Mm.
but if it felt good, I might have one or two more. And
Oh.
my wife was
Oh
getting
my.
concerned, and I said, "Well, I don't think it's a big deal. I didn't start drinking until I was 37 anyway, but I get it.
And you're making up for lost time.
Well, let's put it this way. Yeah, nothing really good comes out of your mouth if you get drunk. So I'm laying there in my hospital bed, dwelling and essentially meditating on the in between.
Mhm.
And it's as if the representation of alcohol was taken out of me and suspended in air before me.
Hmm.
And the in between said, "What do you want to do with this? Do you want to take it with you, meaning into your future, or do you want to leave it behind? If you want to take it with you, I will carry it for you." Meaning I have to
Oh.
go to it if I want to drink, meaning I'm going to be very aware of who's in the room. Or if you want to leave it behind, I will remove all attachment to it. It will have no hold on you. It will be
Hmm.
as if you had never done it. And I said, let's leave it behind. I said, all right. And literally it disappeared. I haven't had a drink since. And I hadn't wanted to drink since. I can go into a bar and my wife can order a martini, and I'm happy for her to order a martini. I can go to a wine store and buy her wine. Drinking is simply something other people do. Like when you're a vegetarian, eating meat is something other people do. I don't have to convert anybody. I don't have to preach. I just don't have to do it. And I don't have any pull. So that's what I'm saying. And yet look at people who struggle with the same thing every day, moment by moment. And I understand that. Yeah. So all I'm saying is the adaptation of my NDE for other people would be if you were to try to incorporate that. And for other people, it might be different imagery. Instead of this sculpture that had these gears, some of which are good, some of which are bad. It might be someone goes into a beautiful garden that needs the nasty weeds pulled out. And when you handle the weeds, it makes you sick, the same as, my gears made me sick. I don't know, but I'm just saying, think about the problem more as I'm already perfect. I just need to do some house cleaning here and remove things that are keeping me from being perfect.
House cleaning is good. It sounds easier than doing work on yourself.
Well,
house cleaning.
And we know and the thing is, even if it's not ultimately true, we know it's true enough. Yeah. We all have stuff, whether it's scar, whether we're the victims or we're the perpetrators, we all have some kind of scarring going on in us and that could keep us from being everything we really were intended to be. So here's the thing. Either let's start there, or let's have as a companion. You have your prosperity practice over here, and you have your house cleaning going on over here. You know what? If we were saying I want to get in good shape, and New Year's resolution, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to eat better. I'm not going to practice the bad habits. I mean, how much of that is as much going and actually doing something like working out in the gym or going for walks or lifting weights or whatever you might do, as it is what you don't do. Like, I'm not going to eat stuff that's bad for me. I'm not going to drink things that are bad for me. And then the mental component is I'm not going to let anything come into my mind that is negative and pulls me down. I'm going to, because I want to feel good about what I'm doing, and I want to look in the mirror and say I am making progress. This is what I'm talking about. So it is about, like you said, the only force of will you need is, can you just let go of it? And you can.
Well, I've talked with various addicts. And addicts can be alcohol or some other type of substance. And I've never had a problem with that, but I listen to them and how their life revolves around staying away from it if they are to keep their marriage, if they are to keep their family, if they are to keep supporting their family and keep their job or their business. So I mean, those people are living in a living hell. And yet that's all their life really is about, is that substance or the feeling, or maybe the feeling that they get once
at the end of the day, it's still a choice, though, unless somebody's holding them down and shoving it down their mouths. And I know this sounds harsh. It is a choice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, it seems like the choice seems to be really hard. It's like grinds on them.
Well, all I can say is that is true. I mean, I don't mean to sound unsympathetic. I'm not. But I also am saying it's still a choice. I didn't say it's a choice that everyone can make, but it is a choice. And here's how you can know. Let's just say that you're so addicted to something that you can't resist it. So it feels like you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Before you get to that moment of commitment, we'll call it commitment of putting it into your body.
Yeah.
Can you wait 1 second?
Just 1 second. 1 second, that's easy. That's doable. And I'm thinking of ice cream, by the way.
Tomorrow, can you wait 2 seconds? Can you wait 3 seconds? Let's just say also, you know how there's a lot of concern about weight. As part of our health, our weight and, the average size of women and all that stuff. But here's one thing. How many people go back for seconds and the first helping hasn't even settled in yet?
Yes.
I mean, the first rule there is wait a certain number of minutes, 10 or 20 minutes before you go back for seconds.
Yeah.
But here's the general rule is just called one morsel less. Whatever it is you have on your plate, practice eating one morsel less. And when you do that, it sounds so funny, but when you take these small but fundamental parts of living and you apply just a little bit of discipline to them, it's interesting how so much of the rest of your life can fall into place. And I'll tell you that right now, I only eat one meal a day.
Oh.
And I'm happy with it. And yet I'm at my right body weight. I don't ever feel hungry. I mean, the body's a machine, you know, and it's just fuel. That's all it is. And this I practiced before my NDE, but it's certainly easier now.
Oh, good. It even got easier. Well, bless you. Yeah, you're blessed there. Excellent.
So again, it's just a matter of thinking about everything we do and what is it we're really feeding when we're feeding ourselves or feeding something. And so that's it. But the honest truth is that, and you can go to my last slide if you want. I'd like to share that with everybody.
Yes, let's take a look at that. And there it is on the sand dunes.
Yeah, that's in Namibia, southwestern Africa. That translates as the big nothing, and as you can see, it really is. It's a country with only about 2 people per square mile. That's a little meerkat. It's like a mongoose, a meerkat down below that.
On the left-hand side there.
Yeah. And I on my presentations, I usually have this statement that the in-between said, and now the man who fell from the sky is not the same who flew into it.
Yeah.
So
very profound, very touching.
Well, it's been my pleasure to share my experience with you, JJ, and your viewers, and thank you for the gift of your time in doing it. It's the only gift you can ever really give. You can never get lost time back.
Yes. Well, like I said before, this is my passion, this kind of cutting edge, front edge information that we are not provided in our regular school systems, our public government school systems. In fact, they work hard not to allow this information in about ourselves. So I'm so happy that people like you are filling in that huge educational void for the rest of us. This will really help us through the coming times as we move into 2020, because we are in for a wild ride, you guys. So gird your loins, come here and listen to our speakers at Paranormal Talks, such as Mr. Jim Bruton, and it will keep you stable and sane as we move into excitement. Jim, can you please give us your contact information if people would wish to get in touch with you? Your website, your email, your phone, whatever you want to give us.
Sure. Again, the website is inbetweenproductions.com. I say productions because I had no idea how the story is going to, maybe it's a movie, television show, book, I don't know, but at least it's something.
So that's
inbetween.com was taken.
Inbetweenproductions.com. Okay.
Yeah, that's productions plural, inbetweenproductions.com. Okay. You can email me directly too, and it's easy. It's my name, jimbruton.com, and that's Bruton, Bruton.
Okay. And YouTubers, the link will be down below there for you to check out. And also YouTubers, if you could be so kind and like these videos, it keeps them coming, this wonderful educational info to you. And what else, what other contact info?
That's probably the best because I'm highly mobile. So phones, I generally go by text because I'm conference calls anyway, but should it be opportune to have a phone call, we can certainly swap that information. And on my inbetweenproductions.com website, there's also a contact page. You can also contact me directly through there.
Good.
So happy to entertain any questions or continue the conversation, compare notes, hear about other people's experiences. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's very valuable, connecting with this information. Okay, well then that does it. Thank you so much, Mr. Jim Bruton. And this is it for Paranormal Talks. This is the third video, and please look at our other videos, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, you guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.